That's it. It's official. Mason Rudolph is your quarterback of the 2022 Pittsburgh Steelers. Now, you're not sold yet? I don't know. Did you hear him yesterday? Good morning to you. Good Wednesday morning. I'm Dejan Kovacevic of DK Pittsburgh Sports. This is Daily Shot of Steelers. Comes your way bright and early every weekday morning. If you're into hockey and or baseball, I also offer up daily shots of Penguins and Pirates right where you found this. Yesterday marked day 7 of the Steelers' OTAs, and it was the backup quarterback's turn to meet with the assembled media, and Mason handled himself as capably and professionally as he always does. He's just got a real good poise about him. Something that I appreciated from the very first time I encountered him, the Steelers rookie camp a few years ago. Just trotted out onto the field, gathered the players around him in a huddle, and just started barking out. And he's got this big, booming voice that projects across the complex when he does. And let everybody know, hey, when I'm in this huddle, I'm in charge. And then, of course, we got to see that tested, all of that in 2019 with the helmet to the head, the other concussion, Myles Garrett lying about him in Cleveland, defaming him, and then what it took to come back. And then on top of that, then he rips up his shoulder near the end of the season. Just everything that could have gone wrong for him did in what, to this day, remains the best opportunity that he had to prove himself as a potential starting quarterback for this franchise. And I'll remind that the Steelers management themselves hung a first-round grade on him. Never mind that he lasted till the 3rd. They themselves saw him as the heir type, meaning the heir, of course, to Ben Roethlisberger. And here he is. He's in camp, very clearly behind Ben, very clearly also the backup. It won't be Josh Dobbs. It won't be Dwayne Haskins, although I'm sure we'll have a lot of fun going back and forth for the next few months about everything that Haskins does because, somebody once hung a first-round grade on him as well. Mason is the only quarterback on the roster signed through 2022. Did you know that? Not Ben, not Dobbs, not Haskins. One quarterback. And that was achieved just within the past month when the Steelers extended Rudolph's contract. And that might or might not mean anything in and of itself. To me, and I shared this with you at the time, it felt more like the Steelers saying, listen, we can't afford to have all 4 of these guys just walking at the same time. So we've got to at least have this one guy and one of the younger guys wrapped up and certain to be here. And so they went with Mason. And you listen to Mason talk yesterday, and you get to thinking a little bit that maybe he knows something that we don't.
Yeah, I think it's always good to get the vote of confidence from your team. And, I think still my outlook, my approach is proving myself every single day, whether that's in an OTA when really we're only doing 7-on-7 live, or that's in training camp or throughout the season. So it hasn't changed my mindset. Obviously, it's a vote of confidence. It's encouraging, and Pittsburgh's a place where I want to be for a long time. And I love the whole organization here. It's home. So that was exciting, but it doesn't change my approach.
This portion of Daily Shot of Steelers is brought to you by the personal injury law firm of Luxembourg, Garbett, Kelly, and George, LGKG. They represent people who are hurt in car accidents, who need assistance with workers' comp, who filed medical malpractice claims. The attorneys at LGKG have been designated super lawyers for over 15 years. That designation is reserved for the top 5% of attorneys in Pennsylvania. Learn more about them at lgkg.com or by calling 888-842-5454. Mason is anything but the troublemaker type. He proved that beyond any doubt with his own handling of the Garrett affair. So he wasn't about to answer questions yesterday, and he didn't, as it relates to, hey, Mason, do you think you're the guy? Do you think you're the one? So what you have to do, as usual in these settings, is try to listen carefully for what does get said. And to what you just heard, and to some other remarks that he made, there was a lot of future this and future that. This is my home, meaning Pittsburgh. I'm looking forward to being here for years to come. And when I think back to the time that Mason's extension was signed, and this was right on draft weekend, you might remember, I think about what kind of conversation Kevin Colbert, Omar Khan, Art Rooney, if he was involved, would have had with Mason. Think about it. He's still a pretty young guy. He's still got a pretty bright future in front of him by all accounts. He didn't exactly embarrass himself in that Cleveland game at the end of this past regular season. Didn't win it either, but he, for a guy who was getting his first legit action and only legit action of the entire season and all the rust and having to go out there and just spontaneously handle the playbook that you're only handling in practices, I thought he did fine. I thought he was an NFL quarterback. And to be honest with you, he did some things in that game that Ben hadn't been doing, meaning throwing the ball downfield and letting it fly. He's got the arm, that's for sure. So he's got all these things going for himself. Why would he sign a one-year extension when there remains the real possibility that Ben would come back for yet another year? Why would he do that? Why wouldn't he say, you know what, guys, you've been stringing me along here for years. You've been saying, oh, this is it. This is going to be your time. This is going to be your chance and everything else. I'm going to let myself go into free agency. I'm going to trust in myself. I'm going to bet on myself. There are 31 other teams out there. I might be better. There's a good chance that I'm better than a lot of the number one quarterbacks on some of those other teams. And it's my time. I'm not going to sit here in Pittsburgh and get old as the backup. I'm ready. Why didn't he do that? Why didn't he do that? Why did he say, this is home for me. This is where I'm going to be for years. All kinds of things get broached behind the scenes with any contract negotiation. All kinds of things. That's not to say that hard promises would have been involved in this, because hard promises are impossible to make. But maybe somebody on the Steelers knows something about 2022, and maybe somebody on the Steelers was operating from that standpoint, from that perspective, in approaching Mason in the first place, and then from there finding a way, wink, wink, nod, nod, listen, man, you're going to be our guy, just hang around. You've put in this much time here in Pittsburgh. We believe in you. You know that. We drafted you. We've developed you. We've worked with you for years now. Just hang around a little longer. That's how Mason Rudolph sounded yesterday. To me. I'm not saying that it's anything definitive, but again, it wasn't going to be anything definitive. You kind of have to look for it a little bit. When we come back, just one question. Back. It's time for just one question. Today's comes from Ryan Turley, who asks, who are your running backs to make the Steelers' final roster? To me, this one feels a little bit too easy, Ryan, mostly because I can't conceive of an alternate reason that Kalen Ballage was brought in unless it was to jettison Jalen Samuels. That is what you're asking, right? Like, who's at the fringe of it? Because there's some obvious guys, Najee Harris is making the team. Benny Snell and Anthony McFarland will battle it out for primary backup duty. But from there, you're looking at, depending on how you count, fullbacks. Derek Watt looks like, from what people are saying and from what we're seeing at OTAs, that he's going to be involved. If you're counting him, he's obviously also part of your special teams. And that's really where this decision gets made, and it's not all that sexy when it happens. The Steelers are going to be looking for a fifth running back who's going to be the most useful to them on the kicking teams. There's not much more to it. Jalen Samuels, to me, has worn out his welcome. I'm not saying that in a mean way. He had his time here, brief and mostly uneventful as it was. He'll always have that New England game where he ran all over the Patriots for 200-plus all-purpose yards. But he's not a player that you need, provided the rest of the backs are healthy and available. Your 1 and 2 running backs generally don't get used on special teams. Your 3 generally does, and your 4 and your 5 had better be involved in special teams, or else you're not going to have enough fast guys to get down the field and make the plays that you need. So that's the way I'd be looking at running back. I think that between 2 and 3, that is going to be a legit camp battle. I expect it to be won by Snell, given his ability to pound the ball on the inside, and maybe there will be some additional usages for McFarland around the edges. And I know that we did see Matt Canada-type plays, Matt Canada-looking plays in 2020 that would be a better fit for McFarland than for Snell. But really, Benny's going to have that edge because they're looking to be, all physical and nasty and pounding the ball through the tackles and sending messages and everything like that. And Benny's going to be a better fit for that sort of thing. So, the running back depth chart, for the most part, is going to be number 1, Najee Harris, and number 2, whatever. Let's be real about that. Mike Tomlin's never been shy about running the wheels off a running back once he believes in him. And I have a feeling that you're going to see something to that effect within reason. Within reason. It's 17 games. Not 11. It's 17. And you're going to have to see some kind of management involved there. I appreciate the question. I appreciate everybody listening to Daily Shot of Steelers. I'll be headed over to OTAs to cover those myself for DK Pittsburgh Sports later this morning, and we'll do this again tomorrow. Everybody, thanks for listening. Please subscribe to our DK Pittsburgh Sports channel, and don't forget to hit the bell to get notified every time we post a new video or podcast.